Hi everyone, today we have a new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to talk about fresh release from ryefieldmodel. So of course this is a 1/48 scale kit, so here comes the surprise, because we are all used to see the 1/35 scale releases from this brand, but we have also here written that we have a full interior with the high precision detail as the same as in 1/35 scale. So such thing might be interesting for modelers who don't have a space or they don't want to deal with a larger model, so now they can focus on a smaller scale. And of course it can be also combined with some aircraft. For example, we have a part of the aircraft here now for some interesting diorama, maybe for something different, maybe for figurines which are cheaper and smaller, who knows, but we have it in a smaller size. And of course this kit was purchased with your help, with your donations, so I would like to say thank you. And if you would like to support us, do not forget that all information is there in the video description. So this kit is numbered as a 40Y01, so 4801. Because of the 1/48 scale, we have a quite nice box art. Here is comparison with my hand, and I have to note that the box size is surprisingly big for a 148 scale. I'm still thinking that this is 1/35 scale because also of the box size. It's quite large for this scale. And here on the side we have 3D images of the assembled model, and you can see that there are actually a lot of things copied for a 1/48 scale. And the same can be said about the opposite side. So here we have a bit deeper look. So as you can see, we have interior, engine bay, and also the machine gun turret. So this is a top opening box, and here's what we have inside. And I have to say that the packaging is quite tight. We have all the parts molded in this sand colored plastic. So these are resealable plastic bags, and they should be quick to open, so just give me a moment. I will open the first one and we will start checking those parts. And frankly speaking, it's quite interesting that recently some brands decided to go into 1/48 scale for the military vehicles. So who knows, maybe we'll see more interesting stuff in the future, because even MiniArt is releasing some 1/48 scale accessories, and you can check them on our YouTube channel as well. So here we have the sprue B. As you can see, we have the I would say mix of parts. For example, here what I'm pointing at is the protection of the bottom part of the vehicle, and as you can see, it is actually molded as a single piece part, which is quite cool because you get it in the right shape and right alignment out of the box. We also get the engine parts there, some of the suspension parts. I can see the drivetrain bits, and this probably the interior floor, but I think we can zoom in even closer so that you can see what we are actually talking about. So overall molding quality seems to be fine. You can notice that the attachment points are quite thin, so I don't think you'll encounter any issues while trying to separate all of this stuff. And also engine looks good. I can bet that there are no wiring details supplied, so this might be actually a place where you can, let's say, add a bit more than the original kit offers you. But as you can see, the thinnest parts also look great, so this is just a matter of getting them carefully off the sprue. And if I flip it over here, you can check the parts from the opposite side. So again, nothing problematic from what I can see. And while you are looking at the opposite side, I'm opening the next plastic bag, as you can hear. So let's place this sprue to the side. And the next sprue is the sprue C. So it's quite wide, and I suggest we zoom in straight away so that you can see these parts closer without having half of the frame empty. So here we have the parts for the turret, and you can notice that again we have a lot of small parts. So this is a 1/48 scale after all, so here is comparison with my fingertips. Some of these bits are really tiny, and for example here you can see the machine gun, and it's supplied obviously in two versions because there are several of them installed as far as I remember. And here we continue also with some minor bits for the turret. So overall, the fact that we have it as an interior kit means that we have a lot of small bits which you will have to account for, and maybe it will also influence your, let's say, painting strategy, because here you have to plan in advance how you actually will be painting all of those elements. Now we have a separate plastic bag for this thing. So this is the main chassis, as you can see, and it is molded as a single piece part, which is really cool because you actually get the part with the right alignment. You don't have to, let's say, be worried about some problems with the fitment. You just get it as a single piece part, and this actually shows the possibilities of the modern molding. So that's why I'm always complaining on the various brands who actually skip on, I would say, offering some sophisticated features in form of the one-piece muzzle brake, because it is possible today, and that's something they cannot, let's say, come off today in 2023. So next we continue with the sprue D. This one is offered as a two-piece supply. So here we have some parts for the interior, as far as you can see. So those are, for example, the seats. Next we continue with some parts for the suspension. Those are suspension arms. Here we have also the front guard. Again, more of the suspension arms, the springs, also the wheel rims, and here we continue with some parts for the external details. So again, because this is supplied in two pieces, I mean the sprue, it means that those parts will be used on both sides of the vehicle. These elements, they look really good. So it's just a matter of maybe adding some weathering. Maybe also you will have to add some seat belts, but I'm not sure about that because I see that there is a, well, small spoiler, we have also PE fret included, so who knows, maybe they will be replicated with PE. And meantime, here is the one-piece bonnet. As you can see, it looks really great. Maybe what we will do here, I will remove this sprue off the table and zoom in and also show you this one-piece bonnet. So as you can see, we have the headlamps molded separately. They will be inserted into this special slots. The same can be said about this front grille. Here inside we have some slots. I guess those will have to be drilled out in order to install some external equipment. And of course you will have to delete this tab, but it's not difficult. And it's good that it's placed actually here because it's least, let's say, noticeable spot in comparison with placement here, for example, or maybe here on the wheel arches. So overall, it's really cool that we get it as a single piece part. What is not cool is that we get this in the standard package. And yes, you guessed it right, these are vinyl tires. And I have to note that the RFM actually offers the 3D printed upgrade, but you have to buy it separately, you have to pay more. And well, if you look at it carefully, these rubber parts, they look more or less okay. We do not have really prominent seam on the tire pattern, as you can see. We also have some details on the tire walls from both sides. So the only thing required from you is to cut off these tabs and maybe also to dust these tires. So who knows, maybe for some others it will be more than enough for out of the box build. Next, I've just opened, but I should have shown you this white box. So this one is actually used to preserve the body shell, which is molded as a single piece part, and I will show you in a second what we actually get here and why it was important to protect it like that. And also, in the meantime, I can remind you that we reviewed the smaller version of this vehicle as well, so you can find it on our YouTube channel as well. So here we have the one-piece body shell or hull panel, let's say. Of course, we have the cutouts for the doors, clear parts, turret, and also the rear section, which is quite good thing for the diorama. But we have also pre-molded horns, and I'm not sure why it was done like this, because it would be easier to just assemble them separately instead of having them as a really fragile part in the frontal section. But still, it's cool that we have this let's say shell molded as a single piece part. It means we get the right alignment, and it also means that we get the right fitment. Next we have the last brown plastic sprue. So it's a sprue A, and it's actually the biggest one in the kit. I'm just a bit confused here because the plastic bag is torn, and that's why it's not that easy to open. So just give me a moment, I will open it. Okay, so as I said, the sprue A, which is dedicated to the mix of various parts. Let's start without zooming in. So we start with the top left corner. Here we have the separate doors. Also we have the wheel fenders. Some of the interior parts. Those are the subframes for the windscreen, as far as you can see. Next we continue with more parts for the doors. Here we have some parts also for the engine bay and suspension. Another pair of doors here. And note that, for example, the handles, they are pre-molded, so you have to play a bit with this. Next we continue with more piping here and there. Next we have also some stowage boxes. This is the instrument panel, by the way, here with some pre-molded dials. And also the front bumper. So everything looks really great. I like the details which are pre-molded, because for this scale I think this is something what could not be avoided. And here we have, by the way, the steering wheel. So overall, the promise of the interior kit in 1/48 scale, it looks quite decent, and yes, indeed, it offers pretty much the same level of details in comparison with what we expect in 1/35 scale. So why I was a bit slow, because I'm trying to open another plastic bag here, and we get actually several bonuses inside, so I will show you them one by one. And the first one will be interesting, so let's zoom in. And those are decals. It's not written who printed them, but it's written that they are printed in China. And frankly speaking, I do not remember if RFM decals were good, easy to use. So if you have some experience, feel free to write in the comment section. But we also get some interior decals here, so that's great. And next we have a quite handy add-on, but I know that some others will not be that happy to see it. It's unpainted PE thread. And again, I placed my thumb here on the top just to give you an idea of the size of these parts. Some of them are really tiny, so be sure to get the sharp tweezers, also to have the sharp knife, because otherwise it will be a nightmare to get those parts into the right spot. And in 1/48 scale, it's not a joke, and definitely do not underestimate those things. Next we have another separate plastic bag, and this one is actually the last one. So here we get the clear parts, and as you can see, the overall molding quality looks fine. The only thing is that masks are not included, but these shapes are somewhat simple, so you can cut them off with the Tamiya mask and sharp knife. So just be sure to use the fresh blade, because it gives the more precise cut. This is just a simple trick which helps with the masks cutting. Next, I'm zooming out a bit, and I guess I will have to close the lenses so that you can see what we are actually having here. This is the assembly manual, and it is printed in color. On the first page we have only caution note. I do not see any history note for this vehicle, which is quite a shame, because they could have introduced some reference materials or something else. But we have the parts map here, which does not show unused parts, maybe all parts used, who knows. And assembly process starts with the main chassis. So next we continue with the suspension. Next, here we add more of the suspension parts, shock absorbers, and then we start working on the drivetrain. So this is actually the 4x4 system, and here you can see the engine assembly, which is quite detailed, to be honest, for the out-of-the-box version. So in case you plan to open the bonnet, it will not be just a simple engine block. It is actually quite nicely detailed, and as I said before, you can also add wiring if you have some reference material for that. Next we continue with wheel rims. So as you can see, they're being installed straight on the wheel axles. Obviously that's not the only way to work around this. You can also try to have the wheels separately, but considering the fact that here you can just pop the tires onto the wheel rims, it might be a good opportunity to have vehicle assembled in this configuration without the tires painted, and then you assemble the tires and actually start the weathering procedure. Next we start working on the interior. So here you assemble the instrument panel, and that's also a good opportunity to find some reference material, reference photos, which will give you an idea how to paint all of these devices on the instrument panel, because as you can see here, we do not get a lot of information. There are also some storage racks which are being installed inside. They will be combined out of PE parts from what I can see, and the same can be said about this, as you can see, racks which will be on the rear side here on this wall. So we get 4 seats inside, as you remember. We get the separate doors which will be installed onto this shell. And still we have to use a lot of PE parts for this, for example, quite sophisticated supports which are installed on both corners. So do not hurry with this stuff for sure, because it will require some careful alignment and installation. Here you can see that we actually can get the 3 separate modules. It means the chassis, the interior, and also the top shell. And then we continue with more parts being installed from the bottom of the vehicle, and still I think we can actually get the bottom as a separate module as well, so it will simplify the painting. But here comes the let's say strategizing of the overall approach to the painting procedure, because as you can see, a lot of separate blocks. So who knows, maybe you prefer to assemble everything together and then just to paint it at once, or maybe you're more of a separate blocks approach guy. So it's your choice. Here, by the way, you can see the bonnet assembly. So again, we get a lot of parts being installed inside and outside as well, which is quite surprising, to be honest. Next, we continue with the front winch, and also we assemble the machine gun turret. And here we install all of this stuff onto the vehicle, so bonnet goes in place as well. We have also the spare wheel being installed on the rear section and this special antenna. So that's for the assembly manual, but that's not all, because we also get the marking guide, but unfortunately only for 2 marking options. So here is the first one, and here is the second one. What is good is that this guide is printed in color, so at least this can be considered as a benefit. But of course, if you would like to copy something different, it's better to find some reference materials. And as I said, this kit should be already available, because I also got it from the model shop, so just check your good model shop, it should be there. And of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about such release. Do not forget to write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye.